Appears to be live. Probably. Yeah, we'll see. We'll make sure it's all working okay. Appears to be. That's me. So it seems to be working enough. That'll have to do. Piglets. Anyway, we're going to get to this Edward Dowdy video. Probably won't play it just because, speak very well. But it's just a lensing argument. And I will try to paraphrase his observations as a NASA scientist and all that crap. And conclusions that there is no gravitational lensing, that any effects we see are just scattering created in the, he calls it the LEM of the sun, which is just sort of another way of saying the corona, pretty much thereabouts, within a radius of the sun, essentially, a little further out maybe. And so sort of interesting. Figure I'll take care of some comments first. There really hasn't been anything, just absolute nothing, I think. Still nothing. So I just get to it. R. Brilliant. Perpetual motion machines practical. So I thought I had kind of explained that perpetual motion, having a machine that just keeps moving, is fine, but all the energy will be conserved in the sense that that device, you can't take anything out of it, because as soon as you pull any energy out of it, create any friction at all, it stops. So you can't tap it for energy. So even though it's perpetually moving, it'll do you no good. This is just a toy. It's just a thing you can watch. Now, things like the Earth traveling around the sun, that's a different thing, because see, that's not a particle. It's not a small little thing moving. It's a big giant thing, which means it has a lot of more stored energy. A lot more energy had to go into creating an Earth, a big thing. So when you can make big things, then you can steal a little bit of their energy, because it's a little by percentage of their huge size. So yeah, it seems like a lot of energy to, say, add 10,000 miles an hour to the speed of a satellite. But it's a tiny, tiny, minuscule fraction of the total energy something like Venus has. So you're not slowing it down enough to make it crash into the sun. You're not creating enough friction to kill the machine. So sort of the idea is you have to create a perpetual motion machine that actually has a lot of energy in. And the trick to that is you have to put the energy in. See, the Earth isn't doing a perpetual motion thing in the sense that its velocity was caused by events that took place in the Earth's history. And those events were energetic. So the Earth being going around the sun is really an example of stored energy. It's like a battery, and something had to put the energy in. The velocity the Earth has had to be put into it. And technically, to maintain an orbit, it means that the energy had to be specifically manipulated by that history. The Earth had to hit things to end up in an orbit. It couldn't have gotten into an orbit from the outside of the solar system. Nothing can enter the solar system from outside the solar system and avoid either shooting right out of the solar system or crashing into the sun. Those are its only two choices if it hits nothing. It has to hit something and have its velocity altered in flight, or it crashes or flies out. Those are the rules. But the point is to create, like if I could make a perpetual motion device, and I could make it big so I could pull energy out of it, I'd have to put energy into it to get it going. So it's nothing but a flywheel then. So a flywheel, like say if I make a frictionless flywheel, you can understand it doesn't do anything until I put energy into it. So it's still just a battery. And all these mechanisms that are big enough to tap energy out of are just batteries. So if they have extra energy, the extra energy has to be put into the system. So anything we build, we have to put energy in to get energy out, like a flywheel. There'll never be perpetual motion in any other sense, unless you're talking about perpetual motion where you're stealing part of a cycle. As I pointed out, like water, the environment, because of the heat of the earth, creates a cycle where water rotates, and we can steal part of the rotation, and hydroelectric, and that works. But it works because something else pushed the water up. We didn't have to do it. We didn't have to pay to do it. The environment did it for us. So those are the only kind of devices that you can steal energy from, are ones where somewhere the environment, the function of the machine, put the energy in ahead of time for you. It has to load it. So all you're doing is really finding batteries. And that's the same thing with the nuclear. There was a history for all the little atoms inside this pen. And their history has them now compressed into this object, first into atoms themselves. And all that compression consumed energy, took energy to do it, to create the pressure, and to essentially take a bunch of magnets and force them into a configuration where they trapped each other. So you can sort of think about magnets and how you can arrange them in certain configurations where you move one of the magnets and all the magnets move, where it becomes a stable binding, where they're in tension with each other, and the tension wants to stay, wants to kind of lock everything in a position. Well, that's what matter is. And so it has a bunch of stored pressure. So the pressure takes the bits, pushes on them, and eventually puts them into a condition where they're sort of locked into each other in a compressed configuration. And you can break that, and they'll release all of that pressure. So you're really just taking back the energy it took to compress them. You're just draining the battery. All right. Hopefully that's enough to end this. Just understand there's lots of things, there's lots of perpetual motion all around us. Light, photons are perpetual motion. Point is, you can't tap a photon. So you can't steal the perpetual motion until it's in the form of an atom compressed into a mass. And then you have to have a lot of the mass, and then somehow you have to have energy into the mass. Just like I said, the flywheel is a perpetual motion machine in theory, but the problem is you have to put the energy in to get it going. And so if you're going to take energy out of it, you had to put the energy in. So it's just a storage device. All right, then Scar Fuckhead says, keep calm, fuck you, and flying mint bunny, laughing out loud, whatever the tongue thing is. I don't know what all that crap is. Well, this is called mint bunny, which I never heard the bunny part. But yes, I'm using Mint, a Linux version that actually works. Not on just one computer, but every single computer I've put it on, it works. So that's why I'm using it. And all the other ones don't. Like Ubuntu doesn't work on any of my computers, not one of them. I mean, unless working is taking 45 minutes to load, and then every time I load software, I have to just go, I have to play music, wait for the program to open, 3 minutes later, oh, there it is. Barely usable. And then it crashes. So whatever. Fuck you. I'm really sick of you. Go play with David. Okay? Go play with David. In Kitty Land. You can have fun. Fun doing physics. Physics, fun. Turd. Oh, I hate people. All right. Oh, there's David's icon. Dissonant science news. We're too silly to be serious. We're making serious claims in a very unserious way. Yeah. Turterific. So frickin' uninteresting. All right, so let's see if there's any comments. No chatters yet. Okay. Then I'll do a rag on solar lensing. Yes, that would be the appropriate turn of events. It's Leonard Susskind. It's not the right video. What the hell happened to it? I got all the trouble to open it, and then it somehow got closed again. What the hell happened here? Can't be down here at the end, and it isn't. Well, maybe it's here. No, it's electricity. Why doesn't the moon? No, that's not it. Single? No, that's not it. And diffraction gradients? No, that's not it. Relativity, understanding space-time? No, that's not it. What the hell happened? Can stars bend light? Maybe that's it. Yes, that's it. All right, so like I said,
microwaves deflected light on.
Get a picture of him here somewhere. There he is. Okay, so so he worked for NASA in mostly lasers. Spectroscopy is his specialty. So mostly studied light and how it moves, and lots of experiments with lasers, shooting them at the moon and all that kinds of bullshit like that. So anyway, observing light and telescopes and all that. So he's kind of informed on the subject. So he points out how Eddington's experiment didn't show, they didn't choose the stars that were a little bit further out, clear of the corona. He didn't choose stars further out where they should have found some bending also. So that's sort of an inverted conclusion, that there wasn't any detected in suns that were visible, that were far enough away from the sun to be free from all the energy the sun produces. So you sort of see it in eclipse pictures. There's always this big bright corona thing. Well, that's sort of an indication of something that really exists, which is there's a lot of energy coming out of the sun, and there's a lot of pieces of the sun flying out that are still producing light. So they're actually even generating some light. There's so much energy there. And even the parts that look dark are full of stuff that was creating photons on its way. So there's lots of little particles still there. So I'm just saying, you clearly understand that if some gas or some substance around the sun is still producing light from the corona, then it has to be made of particles. It has to be made of atoms that are producing the photons. Non-atomic things can't produce photons. They can only reflect them, and it's clearly not a reflection. So there's a lot of energy, and clearly some of that energy is sunlight reflecting off of these little particles. So there's already evidence of there's a lot of little energetic bits around the sun. The sun isn't like, here's the sun and everything's black around it. No, it's got a huge amount of space around it that is a lot of emitted crap stuff, energy bits that aren't photons, that are matter bits, nuclear bits, little ions and such, little charged atoms, little atoms with too many electrons or atoms with too few electrons, little burnt up pieces of stuff. And that those burned up pieces of stuff will scatter light, and some percentage of that scatter will just happen to be at just the right focal length to hit our eyes. So something that would have been invisible, that is light going this way, will all of a sudden become visible to us. And likewise, something theoretically behind the sun would shine photons. The photons, some of them, would be bent right to us. And so that's what they find with microwave radiation, that there is scatter in that corona, the lamb of the sun. So the area around the sun, there is light that gets to us. So light is bent to us. but it's not really bent in the sense of gravity didn't do it. The scatter did it. It's scattering light everywhere, in all kinds of directions. And some of the scatter just happens to be at the right focal length to meet our eye, so we see something behind the sun. But we're not seeing an object. We're seeing just a little tiny percentage of the object's energy. So with microwaves, it's a lot of energy in. We see a tiny, tiny amount of the total amount of energy the microwaves are producing, which is also an indication that this is a byproduct of scatter. You know, if you have a big giant thing shooting stuff in, you should expect more of it to get through if it was being perfectly lensed. All right, first argument. And so so he doesn't know of any, as a NASA scientist, of true observations of lensing, in the sense of observations of anything far enough away to be outside of that dirty area where scatter could be the cause. And by Einstein's equation, because you can double gravity essentially, because Einstein gives you a free right to do so, theoretically the distance you can be from the sun and still have this lensing is increased by Einstein's math gimmick. And it's just a math gimmick for which there's no other evidence. There's no corroborating evidence that says why photons would be feeling twice as much gravity just because they're moving. And there's an intuitive reason to think that doesn't make any sense, because as I've pointed out, if you have a gravitational body and you're moving by it, it seems the faster you're going, the less gravity you're going to be affected by, because you're in and out of it so quickly. And the slower you're going, the more it's going to affect you. So just by intuitive logic, you can say it doesn't make much sense. If this is a vacuum cleaner or a drain, in a bathtub or something, and I move something fast, well, it's less likely to go down the drain. If I move it slow, it's more likely to go down the drain. So even intuitively, it doesn't make much sense that the faster the thing's going, the more it's sucked into the drain. That's backwards, I think. And speaking of backwards, so that's Doughty's argument. I would add to that argument that the lensing, if it existed, would be pointing the wrong way. So I'll go to some of his images, just because they would be of some use. All right, so that's just a dull image of bending light. Okay, so this is sort of the point, that the only light we see, we should expect a little bending as you go further out. We shouldn't expect dead straight lines, for the top 3 lines, which is the real result, and only a bent line that goes through the corona. That shouldn't be what we observe, and that is what we observe. If it was lensing, that shouldn't be the observation. So then he goes into this whole thing about focal lengths and the fact that at different distances there's certain focal lengths, depending on how thick the corona would be, where you could get a focus. And so it's a little bit complicated, and he goes into some of the math pointing that out. And so that we should be observing this all over the place, because throughout the distance of the corona, you could sort of understand that there would be a whole range of angles of bending. So no matter what distance it was, either the light on the outside or the light on the inside should have the right amount of bending to create an Einstein ring. So we should see them all over the place. Like almost every star we look at, we should be able to see some Einstein rings. And we haven't observed any, technically, except things that are 13 billion light years away. The only Einstein rings they have that are even close to being scientifically, theoretically even reasonable. I would say they're all unreasonable. Every image they have is junk, but they're not even close to being what we should be seeing, which are perfect rings. Because you should only see them when the object is directly behind the other object. They really should be perfect rings. and very thin rings. And the thinness is the argument I would add to this. Because of the wrong shape of the lens, that anything that has any thickness, so if you're looking at something thick that has thickness behind a sun, the problem is the thickness means the light is progressively needs to be bent. That is, the light on the outside, the light that diverges out, needs to be bent the most, and the light that comes on the inside track needs to be bent the least. The problem is that gravity does exactly the opposite. It bends the light that needs to be bent the least, the most, and it bends the light that needs to be bent the most, the least, therefore creating no focus. So anything with thickness would be unresolvable. You couldn't see anything that had dimension, width. So all you could get is a sliver ring. You could never get a wide ring. And you could certainly never image a whole object because the lens is the wrong shape. The stuff on the right side isn't being bent appropriate. The stuff on the right side, you could say, needs to be bent the most, and the stuff on the left side needs to be bent the least. And instead, the lens is doing exactly the opposite, which makes it impossible as a theory. Let's see if there's any other images. This is just more focal length. And this is probably just more focal length. And, just talking about how many light years distance you would have to have from an object at a certain location to get a certain angle. So the rings would be at all these different places. But again, we're talking about a range. The sun is this big, and the range, is maybe half that distance, half the diameter of the sun. And in that half diameter, you have a huge range of gravitational influence. So it's like comparing the gravity from, the Earth is some 4,000 miles thick, diameter, something like that, I think. So if you went 2,000 miles out into space, the gravity is a lot less than it is on the surface of the Earth. No, a lot less.
Too short for us to observe.
So you can see he speaks better in this video than others, so it's not that it's that bad. So this is sort of what he's pointing out. There's no deflection above the plasma limb. So these lines are straight. That's what's really observed. So when they see microwaves being lensed by an object, so you have an object and you have some microwave source behind it, the microwave source is only creating an image, an energy profile within a certain distance from the sun, and anything further away, there's nothing. So it's either all bending or no bending, when there should be bending, a little less bending, a little less bending, a little less bending. So that's not happening. And there's no reason it shouldn't be happening. It's completely inconsistent with the theory. The evidence demonstrates the theory can't be right. It has to be wrong because it's not doing what the theory says should be happening, which is gravity is supposed to be a gradual inverse square process of degrade, not all or nothing. All right, see if there's any comments worth reading. No. Okay, wow. Great, super. Thanks for the participation, people. All right, so I don't know whether I'll just keep going or I'll just say, okay, I did what I wanted to do. So this channel is some new channel. The Hilster guy I mentioned in his news, I hadn't heard of before, Sky Scholar. They have some weirdo theory. Sorry, I mean, always. So this is a very nice argument about why relativity fails this test and why there's some logical disconnects in how they argue the truth and the evidence. Like I said, the evidence doesn't indicate lensing, it indicates scatter. So we've got that part covered. light is screwed up for sure, going around suns. Okay, but there's no evidence that it isn't screwed up for any other reason than suns have a really thick atmosphere, essentially. So, it's kind of like Jupiter. There's a huge atmosphere, and we don't see it, but it's there, in the sense that it's got a huge amount of a cloud of energized particles all the way around it that are being pushed out into space. And there's so many of those particles that those particles actually reach the Earth. So many of them being belched out. And if it wasn't for the fact that the Earth has a little bit of a magnetic component to it, all of those ions, these charged particles, these bipolar particles, end up being deflected by this magnetic field. And if that didn't happen, we would sort of be killed by the radiation effects that would be created by these high energy particles going through the atmosphere and degrading into essentially radioactivity. So we'd be essentially irradiated by the amount of particles that are coming off the sun. So again, it's pretty unrealistic to say scatter is not the answer when we have clear evidence that the sun is belching a ton of particles. A ton. Lots and lots and lots. So they have something called extinction shift. So they actually bought the .com for extinction shift. It doesn't sound like a good idea. It doesn't sound like physics. It sounds kind of weird. So I haven't read through it. Not much of it, it's not much of a website, frankly. The beginnings of it don't sound very promising. But yeah, it just sounds a little wacky. So anyway, it is what it is. So, but yes, so I subscribe to this new channel. We'll see what else they produce. But this was essentially a pretty good video. So it's titled, Can Stars Bend Light? So if you type that into the search, I'm sure the video will come up. Or Dr. Edward Dowdy, whatever. But a pretty solid video, I would say. Nothing, no outrageous claims. And yeah, he's just asserting from his experience in the sense that he's asserting that they don't have any evidence of these lensing events, solar lensing events. That is not the galactic stuff, but the stuff where suns bend light. They don't have any evidence of this bending anywhere outside of very close to the surface of the sun, which is the dirtiest part of the sun's atmosphere, of course, the part most likely to scatter light. And that the only way you can tell whether it's scatter or gravitational lensing is for you to know exactly how much energy you put into the experiment and how much you're getting back. So, and they can't do that in the sense that we can't create a fire behind a sun and then see how much of the fire we can see. So without that capacity, we can't really say for sure whether it's scatter or lensing. You can't make a declaration. The assumption has to be it's scatter first, just because it's such a dirty atmosphere. And you can't prove it's lensing until you can get precise enough data to make that kind of declaration based on how much energy you're getting back. Because all you're getting is a tiny percentage of the potential energy being produced. All right. So yeah, it's a good, solid argument demonstrating a huge weakness. He didn't really go into how bad the Eddington experiment was in terms of the fact that it didn't have anywhere near the resolution, anywhere near the amount of information necessary to draw the conclusions that were drawn, in the sense that he was hoping for 10,000 stars, he got 1,000, 10 time degrade in the quality of the images. Big problems, not little problems, kind of big problems with the experiment. And again, it was a marginal experiment. Even under ideal circumstances, it's still a very difficult experiment to measure these tiny differences accurately. In the sense that your photographic plates have to be perfectly timed, perfectly located. You have to get as you have to do everything just right. And if you do something just a little wrong, it's all wrong. Failure is quite easy to accomplish. Success is quite difficult. And there's no evidence that Eddington actually succeeded. There's every bit of evidence that they took failure and just called it success. Yeah, good enough argument. Still nothing in the chat. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Nothing? Just nothing. Okay. Hard to accept, but I guess I'll have to accept it. Let's see if there's anybody here. Let's see, 6. It's pretty dismal, quite dismal. But, they're unannounced rooms, so I understand slow starts and stuff, but, it's been going on for some amount of time now, right? I mean, I wish it said on the video. It doesn't say anywhere how long I've been talking, which is really irritating. I don't think it says on the video page. It doesn't say on the talk page. It just doesn't have that information anywhere. Suppose if I reload this, it might say. I should just see what time it is when I start. I was a little late, so it probably was 1 o'clock before I got here. We'll see what it says. 26 minutes, okay. Yeah, it seems like enough time to get some kind of interest in the subject, some kind of something from someone, but nothing. There we go. 32 minutes, yes. So you can't make any other comment. So do you think what I just pointed out, do you understand these arguments that the imagery we get is short, way short of consistent with the theory? For every image they have of some kind of swirly crap around a galaxy, they have all these other galaxies that should have something and don't. Is the hat box working? I don't know what that means. Damn. I don't know what that means. Hat box. I guess chat. Oh, chat box. Yes, I said 32 minutes. I'm talking to you, Tyra. Hey. Do you understand that the evidence on this subject of lensing is incredibly weak? Sorry, Ray comment wasn't showing up. Ray, so that's probably another secret. Oh, my comment. Sorry, mouse was in the way. T-Ra. Oh, whatever. Weird. Strange. Queer. Too fucked up. Not kosher enough for me. I like everything to be simple. Joe, Sam, Bob, Tira, Mar. I don't know what that is. I mean, I presume you're from some, one of those other countries somewhere where other people say, oh, yes, that's totally understandable. I know what a Tyra Mar is. That's like a Joe Smith. But from my perspective, it's all Greek to me, so to speak. Tira. I have to try to remember that. Tira. Ugh, I hate names. Means I like that in Simlish. I don't know that language spoken by the Sims. Oh, so you're way out in space. Ugh, way, way, way out there. Loop-de-doer, right? You're a loop-de-doer. Yeah. I wonder why you're hanging out here. Let's see, I have to figure that one out. Why is the loop-de-doer watching my videos? That's a question to ponder. How am I somehow appealing to a loop-de-doer? I've sort of, I think, given every impression that I hate loop-de-doers. I hate silly, phantasmagorical, otherworldly, wacky, crappy fantasy landers. Fantasy landers. Ooh, that's a good phrase. Fantasy landers. Ooh, I like that. Make the movie and have them all get killed. Yeah, I like that. I'll make the movie and all the fantasy landers will get killed. Yeah, fantasy land will be blown up by the Death Star. And all the fantasy landers will all be crying and whining. Ah, excellent. Whether the length is bent by galaxies would be dependent on the dimensions. I have to read the rest. Again, you're not addressing the point. The lens is the wrong shape. So, but anyway, on the dimensions, weight, length of these galaxies. Well, as I just pointed out, the length is obviously less critical to an Einstein ring than the width. So let's just understand that part first, I suppose. So, and the length is critical in the sense that the top and bottom of the ring can't possibly form either. So in that sense, it does matter. Making light spread enough, spend enough time, enough time on the well to be slightly bent. So again, you're just sort of ignoring the point. The gravity that we're talking about, huge galactic lenses. Let's understand the size of the image in the lens is maybe thousands of light years of distance. So obviously in thousands of light years, you would have a huge change in gravity. I mean, really less out here and more in here. You can't get around that. That's like an inverse square law thing. So you can't have 1,000, let's say 1,000 light years. Yeah, it's really, I mean, I have 100,000. If the galaxy that's lensing is 100,000 light years across, and these lensing images are always way the fuck away from the galaxy that's actually doing the lensing. Well, let's just ignore that. I'm just saying the images are huge. And that means the light at this side of the image has to be bent exactly the same amount as the light on this side of the image. Now, how can you make any rational sense out of that? That can't possibly happen. And again, by these rules, the image itself would be magnified, which means it has to be diverging, which means the light going this way has to be bent more. That means the light on the outside has to be bent more, not less. So do you understand that argument? I mean, I don't know how you can't see how, I get that. That means it can only be a shred of light, a tiny 10 pixels or something, or 100 pixels or 500 pixels. It has to be a very tiny amount that actually bends from both sides exactly the same amount. But anything that gets bent more is going to end up going like this. It's going to go the wrong way. It's going to bend too much in or too much out. And there's only going to be one tiny little shred of distance that's going to bend the right amount. A tiny shred. Let's see. So let's see if he did any better. But Venus Pagina is an okay name. Seriously? Well, I don't know where I said it was an okay name. I did kind of point out, oh yeah, it's kind of a shit name. So, but yes, it's at least musical. We could say that. Venus Pagina. You could write a song, but Tira Mar. Yeah. Yeah, not musical at all. And must be far away. So here we go. And must be far away to arrive at that angle. Again, the distance doesn't help you any. The things, nothing changes size. So when these two things move away from each other, this didn't change size. Everything's the same size. So you can't change the size of things. Distance, that's only an illusion from our perspective. Doing this, that's an illusion that the size changed. Size didn't change any. It's still just as big. So when two things move apart, think of it this way. Think of them moving apart this way, and you get it. Oh, the lens is this big, and the thing is this big. So think of looking at sideways, and you'll understand, oh yeah, I can't make this galaxy a zillion times bigger than this galaxy. Doesn't matter how far away they are from each other. No, look, as far away as I put them, they don't change any in size because they don't change in size. All right, I don't know their distance, weight, etc. Again, it's just not relevant to the arguments being made. You don't need to. All you have to understand is, first, the lens is backwards. The second point that I'm pointing out, the Dowdy argument, is clear that obviously suns, things on fire, are producing a huge amount of fucking dirt. And you're looking through the frickin' dirt. And you're surprised that you end up seeing some of the light. It's like me shining. Oh, I wish I had the laser beam working at the moment. I shine a laser beam and I blow some vape on it, right? All of a sudden I can see the beam, right? So the beam that was invisible, all of a sudden I see it because I put a bunch of particles in the path and the light scatters to my eyeball. Now, most of the light scattered 5 million other places, but some of the light went right to me, like it was personal, like it was saying, I know where you are, Gary, and I'm going to make the light visible. But it's not doing any of that stuff. It's not any kind of lensing effect. It's just scatter. I know if is justified. That's useless rubbish. All right, here we go. All right, it must be very far away to arrive at that angle. It's like it's technically arriving at exactly the same angle it would if it was right next to it. So the angles really don't change until you magnify. That is, you take a small object like a sun and lens it with a galaxy. Then the light has to do this. Okay, but you can have parallel light still, moving things away from each other. If I move two things away from each other, you're not fooled and think, oh, these lines that I have between these two things all of a sudden aren't parallel anymore. If they're parallel here, they're parallel here. Can't change that. So you always have to keep that in mind, that when they get further away, what you're really seeing isn't the parallel rays, because obviously they go right into the center of the galaxy. And what you're seeing is the rays moving at these angles, diverging. So with distance, you're seeing different photons. You're not seeing the same photons anymore. You're seeing ones that you would have never seen. So you're not seeing ones you would have seen. You're seeing ones you never would have seen because they have a different angle. And exactly what I just pointed out, that any thickness to that dimensionality, to that object, means you couldn't see it because the stuff that needs to be bent more gets bent less, and the stuff that needs to be bent less gets bent more. You keep ignoring that. I keep emphasizing it. Why is it not understandable? I don't know their distance, weight, etc. Well, again, it's just, that's arbitrary. You can just make up any scenario. It doesn't matter. Make up any numbers. Make the sun as big as you want. Make the galaxy as big as you want. Make anything. I'm saying you can never make it make any sense for any object that has any depth or width, because it has to bend the light on the outside more than the light on the inside. I know if it is justified to say other galaxies should bend light, yet they all should be at some angle. You see the ring. So almost everything should produce a ring, because at some angle, it's going to be the right angle for our focal length. So in a theoretical sense, there should be some point around every object that has another object behind it. Every object that has another object behind it should produce the ring, because at some gravity is the right angle to get to us. That, so it could be really close to the surface, it could be very far from the surface, but one of those ranges should get to us. You can't understand that argument? I would agree as to the gravity not causing the effects. Thank you. But with the magnetic field structuring ionized plasma, you might get lucky. Again, you don't have to even structure it. Clearly, see, there's a secondary argument. So you have this crap around the sun. Well, the secondary argument is that crap, because the sun is magnetic, has form or shape. So the crap, the junk, the ions, are oriented. So they're all like pointing, with their tails pointing towards the sun as they leave. They're all magnetically pointing. So when they scatter, they would scatter in a geometrically rational way, so that you're sort of creating a real lens out of little bits. So in a sense, your little bits would be thicker in the middle, like a lens, and thinner as you go further out, and they would all be angled proportionally. So the further out they go, the more they straighten up. The closer they are, the more they're tilted to the sun's magnetic field. So in a sense, you're building up an ion lens. But again, it has nothing to do with, it's not a gravity lens then. And so he actually says that in the video. He says at one point, this is an effect, but it's not being caused by gravity. It's a secondary effect being created by it's a byproduct of the fact that this limb is oriented to the gravity of the sun. So the sun's limb is gravitationally, its density is controlled by the sun, and therefore it is setting up the lens. I don't think you even need that argument, because I think the scatter argument defines the evidence they have. Most of their evidence, or all of their evidence, doesn't have anything to do with a controlled energy experiment. That is, where we have an absolute knowledge of how much energy is going around the object. And without absolute knowledge of how much energy is going around the object, you can't figure out whether you're getting 10%, 1%, 1/millionth of a percent. You can't tell your percentage, which means you can't tell lensing from scatter. Scatter gives itself away because so much of the light doesn't go to you. So that's how you know it's not scatter. If all the light goes to you, most of it, then you know it's not scatter. Sort of. Well, see, it's that argument still fails because the lens is the wrong shape. So you're still fucked. Let's see. I would agree as to gravity not causing the effect. Thank you. Okay. I'm not talking of stars bending light. I understand. Look, where did I say you were? I said galaxies are 100,000 light years across. Didn't I say those exact words? I mean, you're being belligerently stupid here, right? I mean, I made every indication. I said galaxy, and I said galaxy, and I said if I move them apart, they don't get bigger or smaller. I said those exact fucking words. Shit. The point is that the gravity created around a galaxy isn't any different. Well, it is different because a galaxy is flat. But if we assume we're looking at the galaxy this way, okay, at the flat side, the theory of gravity around its edges is exactly the same as the theory of gravity around a sun. Now, I would argue, I have argued, that that's one of the giveaways that the lensing images are bullshit. Because guess what? The gravity out here is the weakest gravity a galaxy is producing. If you want to be in the strongest gravity, you want to fly across the top of the galaxy. First, there's no light to get in your way. There's no junk in the way. And second, you're in stronger gravity for a longer time. Here, you're in weak gravity most of the time. You have one little tiny bit of strong gravity, and then it gets weak again. Here, it's gravity, 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 really strong gravity, gravity, across the whole thing. You can get so much closer to the galaxy. Here, you can't get close at all to the center, which is the center where the gravity is supposed to be the strongest. You're the furthest away. Here, you're closest to the strongest gravity. Damn. People are really, you're just revealing that this is belligerently stupid. You just don't want to hear it. Okay, I'm not talking about stars bending light. So again, I clearly acknowledged we had moved the subject to galactic lensing. I clearly acknowledged that, and I clearly responded to it clearly. About there being a problem with the outer edge bending more. Yes, let's see what you have to say. I know lenses bend more in the edges. And that's my point. Gravity doesn't. Up becomes down. Say again. Now what? So again, you're just you're not acknowledging the point that yes, a true magnifying lens does that. It takes the lens that diverges so we can magnify it. It's the only way we can magnify something is take something small, diverge the light, which means you have to bend the stuff that's at a higher angle. You have to bend the light more. And the stuff at the low angle, you bend less. Gravity is exactly the fucking opposite. So obviously it can't do magnification that way. No hope of doing magnification that way. And there's no hope of explaining how it can do it any other way. That's why we use lenses this way, is because that works. Man. So this is the problem. This is the problem with talking, because people just don't listen. I mean, I made clear distinctions, clear arguments, and I mean, and I think I reduced it to these simple concepts, and there's still failure, still a failure to communicate, a failure to get across the simplest ideas. Look, the lines here are straight; they shouldn't be. That's what's observed. No deflection above the plasma lamp. That's what he says the factual evidence record will indicate, is they just don't have any evidence of anything being bent out here where it's still supposed to be. And that's, again, and that's only one tiny piece of the freaking evidence that demonstrates this theoretically falls apart. There's no theoretical rationality to how they've perverted what we see into and then translate it through their theory to a conclusion. There's no continuity between the actual evidence, their actual theory of what happens, and their proclamations of we did it and Einstein's right and blah, 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 blah. There's absolutely no continuity between evidence and theory. There's no consistency between them. Observations do not match the theory. Clearly do not match. It's the most predictive and accurate theory in the history of mankind, and nothing's ever answered more questions or done more things for people, and it's just so fuga. It's just the swellest thing ever. No, it's a pile of crap. And you assholes are sitting here defending it. Just sitting here making up crap to defend it. The lens does not diverge it. Who said the lens diverges it? It obviously has to bend it into a fucking focus, you fucking idiot. Where did I say the light comes in and the lens diverges it? Where did I say any fucking thing even close to that? I said, if you're looking at a smaller object with a big lens, so you have a galactic cluster here, big, a little galaxy here, small. The light has to diverge. It's diverging light that gets to the fucking lens, retard. And the light going out here has to be bent more because it's at a sharper angle. And the light going here has to be bent less because it's at a less sharp angle. You can't understand that? And you're just being belligerently fucking stupid. The lens does not diverge it. Never said that. False premise, straw man shit. It catches. Oh, here we go. Brilliant. It diffracts the light. It catches divergent light and converges it. And I just pointed out how it does it exactly with the wrong fucking lens. It bends the light exactly the wrong amount for the fucking goddamn focus. It can't create a consistent focus. It can't look across a whole object and bend the light the right way. It's the fuck theoretically fucking possible. All right, so would do gravity converge light that would be diverging? I don't get it. I don't get your sentence. So would do gravity converge light that would be diverging? I don't know how you can miss this argument. Lens, tiny object, galaxy cluster. Now, it's going to be viewed in a portion of the lens. This portion, let's say. This portion of the lens, can you understand that this portion of the lens, it bends the light more the closer you get to the center. So the light that hits this portion bends more. The light that hits this portion bends less. Do you understand that for the image to go here as a focus, that it has to bend the light here more, and it has to bend the light here less? Do you understand that this angle and this angle has to be equal to the angle you're going to bend it? It has to be a big amount of bending. This little slight angle has to be a little amount of bending. And that the fucking gravity works just the fucking opposite. What can't you understand? I don't get it. How can you not get it? The lens is backward. Do you understand that this lens that actually does magnify things to a focus in my eye does so by taking light that diverges from a small thing? See, I put a small thing over here, small. What light do you see when I look through the lens? I see light that diverges, that goes to this outside of the lens and then goes through this middle part of the lens. The light doesn't get bent here, it gets bent here and creates one gigantic image of this by all diverging light being converged, by bending it the exact amount necessary to create the focus. Now, do you understand this lens bends stuff less in the middle and more on the outside? That this lens is exactly the opposite of the function of gravity. Can you understand? Oh, man, I mean, you people are so fucking stupid. It just amazed. This is why they get away with it. It's because you people are fucking just religious fucking kooks. What is this crap? You can't understand that simple fucking argument. If I draw a period on a piece of paper and I look at it with this magnifying lens, do you think the light's coming in parallel? No, it's coming in diverging. And the angle of divergence is greater out here and lesser in here. Exactly the opposite is needed to converge the light into a focus. Oh, man. All right. So, yeah, we don't have anything. Be right back. Well, I couldn't care less, frankly, at the moment. I wish go back on the video to see if I am wrong or you misspoke. No, I didn't misspeak anywhere. This is just such a fucking... How can you miss this? The lens is the wrong shape, and you can't just say, yes, I understand it is the wrong shape. That, yes, our magnifying lenses don't look like gravity. You can't just say those words. Yes, I concede the lens is completely different shape of a magnifying lens, but still, what you can say, but I still think their images are right. That's okay. Go ahead and say that if you want, but just concede the fucking point that it's not a magnifying lens. It's not doing what a magnifying lens does. It's doing exactly the opposite of what a magnifying lens does. I don't know. If you're this fucking stupid, I would talk to you like this in person. That's right. Yes. If somebody fucking Jehovah Witnesses come knocking on my door and they start going, well, I want to make you into a potato farmer forever and ever. Yes, I'm offering you this wonderful opportunity to die and go grow potatoes forever in some kind of holy place where we all just sit around and the wife's in a burqa and I just sit around and grow a beard and say, hey, bitch, go get me a hot dog. Yeah, I'm going to say, fuck off, retard. Take that shit, shove it up your fucking ass, and I hope you get fucking some sort of like venereal disease from putting crap like that up your ass. You fucking retard. Oh, come on. You're trying to understand. I'm just saying, if you're this fucking stupid, this can't happen. It's impossible to explain physics to the lay retards because, I mean, you just keep pointing it out. I mean, shit, the light is going like this. Yes, this angle is really small. This angle is really big. If I want to make this angle point to this location, I have to bend this a lotty bit. Very muchly, because it can't possibly get to where this is unless I bendicate it a lot. You fucking can't get it. Fuck, you can't. You don't want it. You're living in some fantasy land and you just keep saying, I gotta believe in the fake bullshit. I gotta believe in the fake bullshit. I gotta believe in the fake bullshit. I trust my fucking pouch protecting nerdy fucking mathematicians. They're going to tell me about what facts are. The little nerdikins know best. Oh, there's no lightening up. I've been doing this shit for 7 years and getting the same dull, stupid, retarded response. People are dumb motherfucking pieces of crap. You people are just fucking belligerently stupid. bass angler. Jeez. Some douche who sits around harassing fish all day. Ugh. I'm gonna fuck you up, bitches. An unedible fish, by the way. I mean, bass has to be the shittiest fish to eat. God, just they ought to just, full of bones and taste like crap. Yeah, it's just as bad. I catch and release. I kick things in the nuts, and then laugh at them while they crawl home. I mean, I'd love to, I just can I send a bottle into space, giving the aliens permission to catch and release us? It's a sport. Yeah, fuck you. It's a bad addiction. Look, I mean, no offense really meant. I mean, it takes a little philosophical thought for you to realize that, oh yeah, I'm an asshole. I used to go fishing. I used to enjoy fishing. I ate fish, you know, but it was really I should have done something else. I should have tried to throw rocks into a garbage can from 50 feet away. I should have found some other contest to validate my competitive nature rather than harassing stupid, dumb animals who are doomed anyway. Yes, they're already doomed, but why should I be the imposer of doom? Why should I show up to say, I'd like to be doomed for you? I mean, some kind of sword is going to stab you in the fucking neck. I just like to be that sword. And I figured out, oh, I really don't want to do that. I don't want that written on my tombstone that, well, he was the sword of Damocles for all of these things. Yeah, I'd rather not. I'd rather some other fucking force has to be the asshole force. I'll try not to be the asshole. Well, whatever. I'm tough behind that screen. What do you think? Oh, you want to have a big fisty fight because I insulted your stupid whatever it is, your again, your bad addiction. Ooh, tough guy. Ooh, the big bass angler is gonna come to get me. Them is fighting words. Yeah, go fucking put on your fucking Nambla hat or whatever the fuck it is. Mambla or Bambla, whatever the fuck that. Screw America last, whatever the fuck it is. So hopefully we'll get back to the subject, which isn't, sorry to bring it up. I just read his name and said, bass angler. It's going to tell me what to do. Yeah, I always want to take advice from the bass angler. I don't know what you did say. I mean, it's clear. You're tough behind that screen. I mean, it's sort of implying something, isn't it? Like somehow I'm not tough. Well, I'm not protected by screens, you know? I stated, it's not my intention to be just gratuitously insulting. I'm just saying that, yes, I've acquired some knowledge on the subject. And in hindsight, I know, yeah, it's just an addiction. I could have got addicted to anything. That's all. It's just a habit. And your habit can be anything. You can love soccer, or you can love football, or you can love baseball, and you can all care about, oh, what's my favorite player going to do today? Is he going to win today? Is he going to strike out? He's going to hit a home run? Ooh, it's just a soap opera. I mean, you're just being gamed by a fucking drama story, and just like some old lady watching to see whether, Dr. Frickin' Fracker is going to be able to fuck Nurse Hitchenbaum. They're just caught up in the little stories. Oh, I have to read it. I have to see the little story. I mean, it's humiliating to find out, oh man, I fell for that. So yeah, I'm just saying, with a little bit of time and education, I figured out, oh God, I was such an asshole. The silly shit I wasted neurology on. Oh, it's pathetic. It's Angler, not Wrangler. I don't know what it even matters, but physics conversation, please. Physics. Alexander Zaptia. Come on. You don't have anything else? You still can't concede the lens is the wrong shape? It's not a magnifying lens in any of the, it doesn't have any of the classic requirements of a magnifying lens. It has exactly unclassic characteristics. Anyways, gravitational lens would be possible if there is gravity, however small. So again, more bullshit. It matters how much gravity there is, frankly. Bending light isn't that easy. The shit's moving really, really fucking fast. And, that's just the truth. Velocity is everything. The Earth and an atom move exactly the same speed in orbit. In the same orbit, they move exactly the same speed. Mass has nothing to do with it. So it's all about velocity. And light's moving kick-ass fast. All right. If there is gravity, however small, outside the gravitational edge. What is outside the gravitational edge? You mean the surface, where the gravity is the strongest, by the way. Given enough distance between the lens focus galaxy, even though is an inside-out lens. So more crap. The inside-out lens can't magnify. It's impossible. You haven't dealt with the argument that no matter what I'm lensing, the light on the outside always needs to be bent more than the light on the inside. So even if I send parallel light from an object at this angle, the thickness of this pen, the top edge of the pen, that light needs to be bent more. The bottom of the edge of the pen, that light needs to be bent less. So you're always fucked. The lens can't do that. A gravity lens bends more at the bottom and less at the top. You still won't concede that simple logical point. That you have no hope of seeing anything that has thickness. Thickness cannot be resolved by your lens. All you can get is a tiniest of a sliver of a ring. Sliver, tiny sliver. No hope of getting anything with dimension. No hope at all. No theoretical possibility. And you just keep denying it because you're belligerently stupid. Yeah, I've played his videos. Wall Thornhill is a religious kook. Okay, he believes in spirits. He believes humanity is going to go to the singularity on a lightning bolt. He's a phantasmagorical, silly person. They have nothing. You can't say the Earth is magnetic, and then I put a compass a couple of yards away from the Earth and it doesn't do anything because there's no magnetism. You can't say there's charge in the universe. Why can't we measure it then? Charge is a real thing. We have instruments that can measure charge. Why can't we measure any of this charge? If it's strong enough, if it exists, we should be able to measure it. Why can't we measure it? It's invisible charge. It's just a stupid theory. I mean, Walt Thornhill believes that there's such a thing as superluminal. I mean, he thinks there's something faster than the speed of light. He thinks there is instantaneous action at a distance. Instantaneous action at a distance. Instantaneous action at a distance. I mean, it's just fucking retarded. And it's stupid. You know, I like the fact that he dissected Einstein's math a little bit, but his catch, you know, what he caught Einstein with was this idea of putting in the equation a second body. Well, that's the only way you can measure gravity. Walt Thornhill can't measure charge without putting another charge to measure it. You can't measure magnetism without putting another magnet in the field. Those are the rules. Of course, Einstein's theory creates another mass. It has to measure the values. The equation can't have any numbers in it. It can't measure anything if it doesn't have a measuring tool. There has to be a measuring tool in the math, or there's no fucking math. Do you mean this personally? No. But geniuses generally aren't pleasant people. I'm an incredibly pleasant person. And the fact that I find belligerent ignorance obnoxious, just like religious kooks, is perfectly rational and perfectly consistent with being a pleasant person. I hate people who are an insult to our intelligence. And you are no exception. Well, fuck you. Which is an appropriate response to an insult by an asshole who love his cactus. No one is ever going to listen to an angry, who cares then, right? If you're too fucking stupid, all right, to recognize that the messenger has nothing to do with the message, you haven't even figured that out. You're so fucking stupid. You don't understand. Messenger, message. Two separate fucking things. And you can't concede that you would say anybody who overreacts to the messenger is clearly being ignorant. It's not a good plan. Do you give people the advice? Don't listen to something if the messenger is smelly. Do you give them that advice? No, I don't think you do, dumbass. No one is ever going to listen to an angry, quick-witted. I'm more than quick-witted. I'm not fucking belligerently stupid. Okay, that's what I am. And I'm smart. That's what I am. I'm smart enough to have figured out a whole bunch of shit. And it's just true. I'm smart. I make good arguments. I've made arguments in this video, and they're very good arguments. And I've gotten back bullshit from you asswipes. Just absolute bullshit that don't counter any of the arguments I've made. There's not a single counter argument here. You haven't explained how scatter can't be the cause. You haven't explained how the lens is still the right shape. You haven't explained anything to debunk anything I've said. Not a single thing, not a single sentence I've said have you in any way poked anything like a hole in any of it. Cunt. Jesus. Insulting person with such arrogance. My arrogance is deserved because I make arguments. It's not unaccountable arrogance. I'm not just walking up to people saying, God exists, here's a Bible, fuck you. I'm not doing that. I'm explaining why my God exists. I'm giving you a whole bunch of fucking evidence for why this is right and what they're telling you is wrong. And here you are, just veiling your defense of their bullshit. Instead of conceding their evidence sucks, it's all propaganda, they've exaggerated to hell, all of this crap. Do you know anything at all about the Eddington experiment? Do you understand that Einstein was put on the headline of the New York Times? Einstein right about an entire theory based on a silly premise about a tiny fraction of his theory being right? and that now we're stuck with this stupid bent space crap because of this stupid, badly done experiment. You're a fucking cunt. Oh, unless you have a PhD. So again, more messenger bullshit. Somehow PhDs qualify people. When I just pointed out that the PhDs they're not going to give you any answer to my question. I've asked these simple questions. None of the PhDs show up to answer the question because there is no answer to the question. The facts are the facts. They've exaggerated them, they've perverted them, they've distorted them to just sell you bullshit. And you're a buyer because you're a fucking goddamn asshole. Yeah, whatever. Ken Wheeler's just another example of what you fucking assholes will eat. You will eat shit. Absolute fucking gobbledygook bullshit. Fucking mush. Ken Wheeler says absolutely nothing. It's all fucking jargon. It explains nothing. It elucidates. It makes visual nothing. College teachers, nothing but how to parrot old info. No, they're worse than that. They're disciples. They're not just parroting. They're assholes, douchebags who don't have much cognitive capacity. They don't have any imagination. So they can't find fault with anything because they don't know how any of it works. All they know is, well, this calculation leads to this calculation and leads to this calculation, so therefore it must be a calculation that's meritorious because it comes up with an answer. Well, it doesn't matter if the answer doesn't match reality. Who cares? It's a really cool answer. I like it. Yeah, it's really clear. I mean, I'm just saying, pussies run away from the argument. You think, I mean, I'm sorry, I'm not being a hypocrite. I would love there to be somebody who has my personality making arguments. That's exactly what I want. I want somebody who puts up. I want somebody who doesn't just talk shit. I want somebody who puts up arguments, makes declarative statements that I can prove right or wrong. I want somebody bold and aggressive, not pussy shit. I understand how your argument on how parallel light entering the inverted lens can't be bent to the same focus. Oh, good. Can't have resolution of anything thick. Good. Well, then you understand why, theoretically, gravitational lensing can't produce thick images of whole galaxies. Anything that looks like a whole galaxy with a bunch of little stars in it can't be gravitational lensing. And that's every fucking image, frankly. Every single gravitational lensing image is an image of a thing. And you can see the thing in the image. You can see contours and bright spots and weak spots and all kinds of details. It's weird. Yeah, I can't come up with counter arguments. Yeah, that's right. Your tendency is to just say it can't be that they're wrong when you know they can be wrong. You know how science has been done. You know that they were saying silly things like, well, if you understand quantum mechanics, you don't understand quantum mechanics. I mean, you know, right on the face, that can't, your reaction should be, that can't be how it works. I mean, there's just so many arguments that can be made that you just know they're on such thin ice that they've taken tiny shreds. You know, every time there's an on-off pattern, right? On-off pattern just happens to be the simplest pattern you can create and call it a pattern. No other pattern is simpler. It's the simplest thing you can do to create a pattern is on-off. And they think every time they see it, it's got to be interference. No, there's lots of ways to create on and off. Einstein's bent space is based on broken clocks. Well, again, it's based on more than that, but that's one stupid feature of it. It's broken clocks. It isn't fucking bent time. The time doesn't bend, the clocks break. And the premise of matter traveling at sea, well, I don't know where that premise is. So you've fooled me on that one, because he doesn't say matter can do that. He just says it can do 99% of C, which it can't do either. But whatever. The whole idea that velocity doesn't change the thing being velocity is the silly premise of the theory. That somehow it's just a relative thing, and that there's no absolute implications to being velocitized. Oh, Sean Carroll, isn't that wonderful, on Joe Rogan? So another phantasmagorical silly thing. Well, it'd be nice if you have a link. You can post links. Yeah, so you can give me the link. Yeah, I don't watch Joe Rogan regularly, so. But yes, I'll watch if it's a science show. I hate Joe Rogan. He's my anti-personality, essentially. Ugh, I just hate him. Contrived bullshit. It's trivial. It's just so fucking girly man bullshit. I was just imagining it, just imagine. Wow, what do you mean? The universe is expanding and it's all jumping into new locations, quantum leaping. That's amazing. It's amazing. It's amazing. Yeah, amazing. And every location is being updated every millisecond by the magical updater. Like God is updating every single location in space, because we don't have any other force that could be doing it, right? Because all the forces are invisible fake things, virtual photons and bent space. So yeah, they can't really update anything. How does a bent space update anything? So it must be the fairy princess God. Anything short of putting a gun to my head isn't going to make me feel better. Yeah, I'm just so disappointed in intellectuals. I mean, they're just as dumb as the idiocracy. They're eating the idiocracy shit. They're not leading anywhere. They're not being, bus drivers. They're just passengers too. Take no responsibility for what they're doing with their phantasmagorical shittiness. Well, I'm just saying you're more than just ignorant, okay? I'm not even saying you're ignorant, frankly. I'm just saying that the argument I made over and over again wasn't that hard to follow. And again, and then you said things like, I wasn't talking about solar lensing, when I made it so clear it was galaxies I was talking about. I mean, I'm just saying it's like you're not really trying to believe. You're resisting it. So that's okay. You can be resistant. But I'm just saying there's some things you just can't resist. I mean, some of the arguments are just so obvious. So at least you've conceded at least one of them, that the lens is the wrong shape. It's not a good shape anyway. If somebody's going to say there's lensing, they have to explain how they did it with such a bad lens. Because it's a really bad lens for magnifying. You can't magnify with it, that's for sure. It's just dead as a magnifying lens. Now, whether it can lens things at all, whether it can create a ring, okay, we'll concede it can create a ring, but the ring is 4 photons thick. You can't post a link. Well, I don't think Sid is a malicious type, so I will give you the powers. I mean, I don't like you sometimes, Sid, but I really don't think you're a troll. So there, I'll give you a wrench. Happy Wrench Day. Not fair. You started schooling me on isospheres. I had to contain the topic for the sake of my questioning. I don't even know what that means, but whatever. Ionospheres. I'm just saying that, yeah, I don't really need to do the whole ionosphere argument. I was only using it for the purpose of explaining the sun is producing a lot of particles. It doesn't just produce sunlight. It produces a lot of crap. So there's a lot of crap around suns. That's not a hard argument, right? And that you can logically understand that the closer you get to the sun, the crap gets thicker. So that's not even hard to understand, right? It's like impossible for it not to be thicker near the sun than the crap is away from the sun. Those aren't hard premises, are they? I don't think they are. So thank you for the link. I'll save it for later. Copy. Yes, I'll copy it. I'm just saying that these arguments about solar lensing are so dishonest when they don't really talk about the fact that there's a huge amount of crap around the sun. It's not sun, no sun. There is no sun, no sun. That isn't the reality. Jupiter, there's like Jupiter, no Jupiter. Saturn, no Saturn. Yeah, those are real possibilities. And I would point out we have no evidence of lensing by those giant planets. And Saturn's sort of a giveaway, right? Because it's got these rings around it made out of particles. So I guess obviously Saturn was a bad example because there isn't any Saturn, no Saturn. There's Saturn, 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 Saturn. So just to rephrase, we have all these arguments made by Edward Dowdy about the unobserved deflection at the further distances. And that's a NASA scientist who's seen a lot of data. No data of bending far away from the sun, only bending very close to the sun. And we have Einstein's trick of just making photons immune to the inverse square law. So somehow electrons, inverse square law, proton, inverse square law, atom, inverse square law, everything else, inverse square law, photon, magically not affected by the inverse square law. So photon feels twice as much gravity, which is the same as saying that somehow I could create something that I could put here next to me, and that light bulb will somehow push more light onto this thing than it puts onto me. It's effectively the same argument that somehow I'm going to make something that somehow is going to make that light bulb make twice as many photons. That's the argument. Twice as many. Maybe more than twice. Yeah, but anyway, twice as many as a minimum. Twice as many. Yes, it's twice as many. That's the exact thing. So twice as many photons somehow will go to this thing than go to me per mass, per volume, per anything. Twice as many. So I make a little magical thing that gets twice as much, even though it's going faster than anything else in the universe. It's getting twice as much. That's the argument they're making. So you got fake math, you got pitiful evidence, just junk. You got a lens that's the wrong shape. And what else? That's a lot. You have no theoretical ground here at all. The theory is garbage. The evidence is garbage. There's no consistency between the evidence and the theory. Like at least 50% of the suns we see, especially the ones from our own galaxy, which are a lot of the stars we see, they should have rings. Some of them have little rings, some should have big rings, some rings in all different locations. Each one of them should have a ring, even with the wrong lens. A ring. Where's the ring? Where are the rings? Unless you're assuming that every one of those stars, if I pointed a straight line through that star and I went right through the middle of that star with a ray gun, I would hit nothing in the rest of the universe. Not a single other object could be hit. And what's the chance of that in a universe full of galaxies and clusters and bullshit? Oh, pretty thin, I think. Sean Carroll maligned anti-natalists by saying we want to kill all humans. Well, at least he had to say the word anti-natalist. Cool. Far out. Yeah. Bingo. I mean, that's huge. Forcing these assholes to say something is huge. I mean, the fact that they even get asked the question, excellent. Yes, the universe is the dumb cunt. And Sean Carroll's answer is, we should be controlled by dumb cunts. Why don't you like the dumb cunt plan? Something wrong with the dumb cunt plan? Why shouldn't we let the ultimate idiocracy, which is the universe, I mean, it's the ultimate idiocracy, right? You couldn't get a dumber fucking mechanism, no brain, zero brain. And he says, let it drive the bus. It knows what it's doing. So, yeah, that's what your intellectuals can do. That's what these people are supposed to be smart, and they know what the game is. They know reality. And they're dumb enough to say something that fucking stupid. Yeah, well, you don't have to tell me what was in the video, but thank you. I suppose it probably so I can get a little bit prepared, and maybe I'll take some Dramamine or something so I can handle it. Because yeah, it'll be quite disturbing, no doubt. Oh, you have to just soak your brain in some fucking vinegar douche, and you'll be able to understand quantum mechanics. It's just you have some like particles in your brain that are doing reasoning and rationality, and you have to make those things go away so you don't have to be bound by reason and rationality, and you can believe any kind of crap, any kind of fucking nerdy, dildo fucking retard says. Ugh. Yeah, anyway. Need more. Come on. How many of you people listening? Come on. There's more than 6 of you now, I'm sure. How many of you, just by saying, just say yes in the comments. Do you understand that the lens, a gravity lens, is not like a magnifying lens? A traditional magnifying lens is doing exactly the opposite of what a gravity lens would do. Do you understand that point? Just say yes or no. And, and out yourself as a fucking imbecile, but go ahead, out yourself. All right, if you don't say yes, I'll assume you're an idiot. Yeah. So you're stuck being an idiot either way. If you don't say anything, you're an idiot. Come on, man up. Come on, people. Yeah. All pussies. Simple enough question. I mean, come on. Fuck you. Okay, well, great. Yeah, I mean, you're just demonstrating. You said before you conceded the point, now you don't concede it. Right? So what's that? Obvious duplicity. No, this it just illustrates how impossible this task is. There's just no point. I mean, there's no point in talking anymore. There's no point in saying anything because people are just way too stupid and way up the ass of bullshit. Well, affirmative isn't exactly the simple instructions. I mean, yes, okay, I'll let it slide, but man, simple instructions, really, yes, no, simple instructions. Only one person so far could obey the simple instructions. The simple request. I mean, it's not, am I asking too much? Oh, yes, Gary, you're asking way too much for people to express their opinion honestly. Oh, it's asking too much. It's just a pathetic world. So discouraging. I mean, they got a for sale sign on the property I live on. Like, that isn't enough tension. We're going to ruin your life. Saying, we're coming to ruin your life. And then you people have to be assholes. Oh, God. This is so depressing. Oh, God. So. So, I guess we're almost done. Are you going to be forced to move? Well, that's the implication. I don't know. So that's the whole point. Something really great could happen, like somebody who cares about people and wants to be a good landlord and all that kind of crap, and they'll fix my roof and do nice things for me. That could happen. Or asshole buys it and he just wants to tear them all down and build new places and sell them as condos or something, and I'm fucked. Some little inheritance wealthier little cunt is going to show up here and control my destiny. It's just disgusting that this can happen. Oh, they show up there, these little fucking yuppie millennial pricks, these 30-ish, oh yeah, we're just looking for an investment. Fucking cunts. I'm not your fucking investment. Yeah. So, sorry, it's not really a related subject. Just that, yeah, you could have cheered me up, you people, and you just didn't do it. You could have said, "Hey, Gary, there's hope. We're not as stupid as you think we are," but you couldn't demonstrate it. Well, obviously, it's not the universe; it's the human cultural degradation, the putrid state of human intelligence that allows us to be subject to this fucking capitalist horror. Yeah, well, there's just no. Is there any real point in me to beating horses to death? I mean, what is it? I have to make Sid prove he understands that the lens is the wrong shape. you know, okay, Sid, you have to prove you understand that the lens is the wrong shape. I think you have to say something like, "Yeah, I know the difference between a lens that's fat in the middle, and that means it doesn't do anything, and it's thin at the edges, which means it bends the light a lot, and the fact that gravity does exactly the opposite." I mean, what exactly does he have to say to prove it? Well, it was a specific question. This question wasn't skeptical about bent space. The question is more direct. Even if there is bent space, it wouldn't have anything to do with bending photons, would it? I mean, in some respects, bent space doesn't give you any information about why photons should be bent. The thing that isn't bent by magnetism and it isn't bent by electricity, why is it bent by gravity? It's electromagnetic, yet it's bent by gravity. I mean, there's no real connection between bent space and bending photons. There's absolutely no need to bend photons to have bent space. The only reason why he needs to bend photons is for his relativity shit. The whole idea of making light, I think, bend into the future or something. I don't know. The dopey notion that you can't shoot lasers straight when you're on a fast spaceship. So when you're on, just letting you know, if you ever get yourself stuck as a Jedi shooting stuff in space in the future or something, don't use the laser gun because it won't work. It'll shoot crookedy all over the place. Well, I'm just saying, you just keep talking shit. I don't give a damn, but go ahead. I mean, the fact is, you couldn't answer the simple question, Alexander. Couldn't just say, yeah, you're right. The lens doesn't appear to be the right shape. Well, I don't know. What do I have to prove? I just made the arguments. What do you mean? You have to prove it further? It's a theoretical proof. Their theory is that the light bends more where there's less gravity. That's their theory. You can sort of understand that can't be right, right? That can't be possible. You can't bend the light more where there's less gravity. Do I really have to prove it any other way? That this lens isn't a gravity lens? Do I have to simplify the question even more and just point out, obviously, a gravity lens is not the shape of this magnifying lens in the sense that it does not do what this magnifying lens does? Hasn't that been proven theoretically? This lens bends light more out here and less in here. That's a fact. You could agree with that's an absolute fact, right? Can't miss it fact. And that a gravity lens is doing the opposite, right? Right? It's bending light more here and less out here, right? No doubt about that. Come on. I just can't believe I have to turn this in. I mean, what, I have to put the whole fucking thing in Pampers or something? I got to have babies or Teletubbies go, Teletubby, tubby, Teletubby, tubby, get, me, get, me, get, lens, wrong shape, rabbit, ha 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 ha, Laffy baby. I mean, your people are fucking retarded. I don't believe their theory. I haven't watched as many physics videos as you. That's not the point. Did I just make the point? You don't have to watch their videos. You don't have to watch a physics lecture. I gave you premises. I'm telling you those premises are accurate. All right? This is what they say is happening. Lens from a little thing, little galaxy goes into a big giant cluster. Okay? And no matter where it goes, hitting the lens, if it hits the whole lens, and you're going for the ring thing, well, obviously the light has to diverge. It has to go out. So that means it has to go at angles. And obviously when it's at these far away places, the light has to be bent more the further away you go. Not less, more. You can't understand that simple physical principle. You think you have to watch physics lectures to understand that. I think that's grammar school, frankly. I think I could get a 10-year-old to understand what I just said here. Maybe I got to get a 10-year-old audience. But yeah, it doesn't say much. When you say something, I don't believe their theory, it's not saying anything. You have to say something like, I'm skeptical of the credibility of their evidence. I'm skeptical of their way of presenting it as always being simulations and drawings of what they say happened. How come they don't have any pictures of what their evidence looked like? How come they always have to redraw it? Why can't they just show me the images of it? Why can't they just show you Eddington's photographic plates and say, see, isn't it obvious? Well, because you'd look at them and say, no, it's not obvious at all. You got this bar going this way and a bar going that way, and you're saying their bars are the same thickness and the middle of the bar is here, and I don't know. Well, again, you just keep doing the bent space thing. It's not about bending space. It's about gravity bending light. That's the subject. I think I have it in the title here. It's gravitational lensing is the subject. The subject isn't bent space. Gravity is a real thing. The inverse square law is a real thing. You don't need bent space to understand those are real things. They're saying those things bend light. That's the argument. Yeah, well, Sean Carroll is a douche. Yeah, we don't need experiments. Yes, hilarious. We don't need evidence. We just make it up with our optimism bias. That's all we need is a good old optimism bias. Well, clearly gravity in theory could bend photons because frankly we don't know what photons are, so it's theoretically possible. It's just the point is there's no evidence that it takes place, and the evidence essentially is contradictory in that there's lots of evidence that it can't possibly be true, and the evidence they have saying it did happen is flawed because their theory is flawed because the lens is the wrong shape. It's not gravitational lensing, Chicken Little. So as the whole beginning of this video went into the whole conversation about scatter. So again, just more crap. Thank you for adding more distraction and crap. Confuse the subject for no good reason. There's no light being bent. Okay, it's being diffracted. It's not bending in any kind of gravitational field. It's not bending in some smooth way. It's hitting little particles and bending at sharp angles. Very different from gravity bending. So again, just more bullshit. Thank you for the bullshit. Well, they pretend to say they have hopeful mathematics by creating, like, there's some galactic images that make no sense, right? Because the thing that's supposed to be creating the gravity is here, and the image is way the fuck out here. And it's like, no fucking way there's enough gravity way out here to bend the light. So their mathematics can't even work with their Einstein fake. So even with the Einstein fake, there's no way to make this thing heavy enough because it would suck in the whole universe. Everything around it would get sucked in if the gravity was that strong. You'd see everything was in a spiraling motion into that thing. So their math can't possibly account for where the ring is. The ring is in an insanely crazy location. So now now that they already invented dark matter to solve other problems, they're just using it to say that's why there's a lensed image, because the dark matter always creates a ring around the outside of the gravitational body. See, when they create dark matter to fix the galaxy, they don't put it in the center of the galaxy. No, they put it on the outside of the galaxy. They spread it like a little butter. They just spread it around the whole thing. It's insanely obvious that it's just made up crap. They have broken math and they fixed it with fucking black butter. It's just fucking bullshit. Preposterous, made up shit. It's a God of the gaps crap. It's like somebody 2,000 years ago saying, why is there thunder? Well, it must be God farting. I mean, that's all it is. Just make up shit. Yes, the super heavy material that can't do anything matter does. It's matter without any matter in it. Yes, it's really cool. Invisible matter. It's that funny, right? They created an invisible man solution. They don't have. Oh, imagine the Columbo episode, right? And Columbo can't figure it out, and he just goes, "It must have been the Invisible Man. He did it. Oh, that fucker! He is so sneaky. Yes, he murdered the person. Yes, it was the Invisible Man who did it. Obviously, that's why I can't solve it. So it must have been the Invisible Man." I mean, it's that bad. It's so bad. It's laughably bad, and none of you people are laughing. I must have a low battery. This vapor is not vaporizing properly. All right, but I probably should get the fuck out of here. Ugh. Yeah, I'm sorry I'm getting so impatient, but you know, I've been doing this for a long time. My arguments are just so solid now. I've got this thing nailed. I have done it. I have discovered the truth, the unification theory. I have figured it out. And here I am. Can't do a damn thing with it. I have the fucking goddamn truth of the universe. I have what Einstein spent his whole life searching for. I have discovered it. And it means nothing. I have to wait for the software to load. And it's probably going to tell me something annoying. Watch. Let's see what happens. All right, new. It's working. That's much better. Thank you. I guess I'd be polite to it because it has my welfare in its hands. So I will be polite to it. Thank you. Side question. Why don't you post to suffering sucks, graceful exit, etc. anymore? I don't know what that is. Oh, those other channels. Well, part of the problem is YouTube only allows you to have a certain number of channels per phone number. And I only have one phone number now. And so I can only have 3 channels that I can really access routinely. So that's part of the problem. The other part of the problem is I'm busy doing this. You see, well, there's no point in going into all of it. Why this has taken a priority. Part of it is purely subjective in the sense that this is a real easy mechanical argument. I don't have to worry about giving people character. I don't have to make them decent. I just have to get them to do some logic, a little bit of logic. This takes much less logic than the other subjects. So I just figured this is the safe one. And in a sense, this should be the powerful one in the sense of I gain my fame and fortune, so to speak. I mean, I get myself into a position where I become somebody people listen to, which is really good. So if I can do that through this medium, that would be fantastic for the bigger picture project. But clearly, both projects are doomed. But the fact that Sean Carroll was asked about antinatalism is huge. But again, this is supposed to be physics, and you people just won't do physics. I have to get a more physics literate audience. I just have to do it. Yeah, well, it'll be interesting to see how exactly the conversation got brought up in what context. Sort of interesting that he brought it up just because I contacted Sean Carroll. You know, I sent him an email a couple of 3 weeks ago and asking, is there some way I can get on your podcast? Is there some way I could buy your time, to be interviewed, any of that kind of crap? And I'm just wondering whether he looked me up. That's where he saw the antinatalism stuff. I wonder. Cause us crazy. I don't know what that means. Called. Yeah, well, so what? I mean, I just saying, he's the asshole with the crazy crap. So I'm just saying, calling people crazy or being empathetic doesn't seem to be, in my opinion, that's a pretty defeatable argument. Oh, you're being manipulated by a horrible mechanism of biological warfare. Oh no, and you don't enjoy that? Oh, well, you're crazy. Yeah, no, I don't think I am. Yeah, wait till he gets his little frog testicles get cancer or something. Maybe he'll grow some perspective. Well, it's just, I'm just saying it can't hurt that it was brought up. I'm just saying there's no way. I mean, their arguments are lame. So I'm just saying the lameness of his argument will be obvious, I'm sure. So what's the problem? But again, you're going far of the field that's relevant. So anyway, appeals to anyone who is a little bit physics literate who would like to attempt to challenge me on my bullshit. Um, Open invitation to do so in a live room. All you need is audio, really, and I'll give you the link to the room. You can come in here and say your spiel, and I can get to have my counter arguments and blah blah blah. And I will be polite and respectful. And so just email me at emails in the description at draftphysics.com. Sorry, draftphysics.com. And anybody else who thinks they can point out some facts or some experiments that prove me wrong or some kind of bullshit, you have an invitation to do so in this room with your voice or your entire form, either way you want to do it. It's an open invitation to anybody who says I'm wrong and I'm an idiot and I'm a loser and I'm a shithead. Any of that crap. If you want to make your argument, uh, in a more interactively rich way, and even in a not bound by simple little text snarkyisms, um, please do so. If you can link to a video that somehow debunks what I'm saying, link away in the comment section. Some proof you wish to stand behind that you don't think I can debunk. Link away. All right. Well, I guess I'll surrender. 2 hours, right? What time? How long has I been? How long has I been? How long has I been doing this? Rogan referenced people contacting him about physics. Well, good. Called them all lunatics, no doubt, or said, "Oh, they're all little whiny bitches. Want me to grade their homework." Yeah, I got no response to my inquiries. Like I said, nothing. 2 hours exact. Cool. All right. Well, I always hope for better, but I got what we got. I'll have to do. And I think I made solid arguments here and did my job as best I can do it. And I'll get no reward for it, of course, but the way it goes. So I have to just keep endeavoring to persevere. Just keep endeavoring to persevere. Just keep fucking get kicked in the face by morons and idiots and rich little inheritance cunts. God, it's just horrible. I should get what I deserve. You people should get what you deserve. That's how it should work. All right. 2-minute warning, I'll say. Yeah, I don't know why I'm awake. I did put some caffeine in my drink, which is probably a mistake. I did have a horribly stressful day. I know it was going to bother me a little, having people walking around. Oh yeah, I can totally see you. Let's tear down that house and we just build a nice little, vinyl house. Yeah, I can totally see that. Charge $2,500 to rent a fucking fucking trailer, that's glued to some wood. I got kicked out of a PhD program in biomedical engineering. Well, I don't know anything about that, but I have to say I'm sorry. It's kind of a bitch dealing with people. I hate people. So, they all suck. I don't know what they could. I mean, maybe you're a drinker or something. I don't know if they had any kind of good reason, but for somebody, yeah, I mean, biomedical engineering is kind of a broad subject, but I mean, some of it gets very technical. So, but yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if yeah. Well, I don't know. Oh, I see. And they wiped you out for that. Oh, that sucks. Yeah, I'm kind of for the idea of this whole college thing. I don't like it at all. And I don't like the whole way education is paid for. I don't like any of it. But yeah, I'm all for the testing thing. But it doesn't matter to me whether it's like passing the bar exam. I don't care. They don't care how many times you fail. You just take it again every year. And the idea is once you know it, you know it. And once you can do it, you can do it. So to me, they should never kick anybody out of a program. They should just say, "Oh, I guess you need another year. Try again next year or in 6 months. We'll let you take the test again in 6 months. If you can pass the test, okay, you can be a doctor now." It just should be a test. These whole PhD programs really are full of themselves Nazi groups who just dictate what, oh, well, we know what the truth is, and you got to know our truth. And if you don't know our truth, we'll fuck you. And yeah, it really is. I mean, I don't think I would thrive in such a circumstance. Don't get me wrong, I didn't like taking tests, but I think tests are the only way to test somebody's knowledge. That's the way you test them, is to test them. The word sort of makes sense, right? Testing, test. You test cars, you test rocket engines, you test things. That's the whole way you figure out whether it's right or wrong or knows what it's doing. You test it. Why the fuck would I do something besides test it? That's exactly the way you find out. It's just really irritating. Well, I wish you luck, but I'm also wondering, like I said, it does get expensive, so the do-overs. So, but yeah, uh, I don't know enough about you to say much. I'm just saying, I empathize conditionally on the fact that you're not a fuckhead. So if you're not a fuckhead, then I'm really sorry you're getting fucked. Well, you should know whether I'm a fuckhead, though. I mean, obviously, you've seen a lot more of me in action than I've seen you in action. So you have a lot more to go on than I have. I am in many ways naked to the world. Yeah, you get all of me. Yes, I really am such a pleasant person until somebody is obnoxiously stupid or obnoxiously anything. Just be obnoxious and I'm not pleasant anymore. I'm even pleasant though. I mean, some asshole drove in here one day, with a fucking truck with no muffler, on purpose, no muffler, you know. And I was still nice to him. I mean, I didn't say, "What are you fucking retarded? You park that thing on your driveway, and every morning you start that fucking thing up, and you just say, 'Hey neighbors, fuck you.' And you do that every day on purpose? You fucking cunt." It's like the guys on motorcycles. It's like, how the fuck can't you hear how obnoxiously loud that is? How the fuck can't you figure that out? That somebody having a pleasant smoke in their yard with a little martini might not want to have that fucking happen to them, where they're just nice and relaxed and, oh, the birds are tweeting and everything's quite lovely, la 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 la, and then brah! How the fuck can these ignoramuses not know they're scum? They're just being scum. They're just saying, I am a fucking scumbag. I mean, they should be shot on sight. You shouldn't even have to aim. You should be almost allowed not even to aim really good, just to shoot them as fast as possible. I mean, people are just so obnoxious. It's just, and there's so many of them. There's just so many obnoxious fucks. Oh, I'm so depressed. It's just, I'm gonna have to hysterically laugh because I'm so depressed. Oh God, I hate this planet so much. I hate it here. It's just, I want to move to Orgivania. Orgivania. What do they call Alpha Orgivania? Or I have to go up with a name for a star. That's the orgy star. Just move there. The moot orgy. Nobody gets to talk. Just an orgy and nobody talks. Nobody say nothing. Just do touchy feely, no talking. Don't open your stupid, ignorant gob. So anyway, I guess that's enough now. 2 hours and whatever, 22 minutes or something. Probably just 12. Yeah, 2 hours and 12 minutes maybe. But anyway, it seemed like 22 minutes, but it was only 12, right? Something like that. Hot here still. Fuck. Ugh. But whatever. I will endeavor to persevere. Not even hot, it's just humid as fuck. I mean, everything is just paper. I mean, limp, 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 limp. Everything's limp. Anyway. All right, so I guess that's it. So you can say goodbye now. Goodbye, Gary. Drool, drool. Oh, I miss saying goodbye. How did I miss that? It really isn't that bad, Gary. Night, Gary, yes. I know it's night, but whatever. Thank you for telling me. Till the next time, and such and so forth and whatnot. Signing off until I decide to do this stupid process of sticking my sneaker up my ass again. Damn. Violating the Einstein rule. You know, doing the same thing and expecting something different is just fucking idiotic. So, but I am hopeful. To admit it. I hope. Yes, I cling to shreds of hope that people aren't terminally stupid. Anyway, till next time.